Come on in, pull up a chair, and take a load off, because today I'll be reviewing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Archives of the Empire, Volume 1 from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. Is this tome chock full of useful information for game masters of all stripes? Or is this just overflowing with useless minutia, only of importance to the most rabid Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay fan? Well, you're going to find out right after this. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. As I mentioned in the open, today I'll be reviewing Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Archive of the Empire Volume 1 from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. It's written by Steve D., Jude Hornborg, Andrew Leask, Stephen Lewis, Alfred Nunez Jr., Ciaran O'Brien, Padraig Murphy, Stein Quinn, Anthony Reagan, and Chris Walls. This 94-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $34.99. If you order from Cubicle 7, you'll also receive the PDF as well as the hardcover. If you want just the PDF, you can swing over to DriveThruRPG and pick that up for $19.99. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got Archives of the Empire Volume 1. Couple of things before we dive in. First off, the fine folks over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment were kind enough to send me this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share my thoughts about this book with you. These days, it's very important that you know that. Second, I am going to stay picture-in-picture up here in the corner, and that means I am going to be cutting off a bit of the left side of the book as we take a peek throughout. We're not going to look at each and every page, but I am going to discuss what's in the book, what I like about it, who I think this book is going to be good for, and also discuss who it might not be right for. All right, let's take a look at the back real quick. So we have a grim and perilous exploration of the Empire, and exploration is misspelled. Sorry to say. Typos sometimes slip through the cracks at Cubicle 7. It happens. It happens to the best of them. Welcome to the Archives of the Empire Volume 1, a fascinating and diverse collection of articles on topics that cover the length and breadth of the old world. First volume focuses on the other species, dwarves, elves, and halflings, whose presence enriches or enrages the world of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Volume 1 details new locations, careers, and NPCs perfect for inclusion in your next WFRP adventure. So let's jump on in. I'm not going to read the rest because you're going to see what's in the book. So we're going to open up with the end papers of the glorious Reichland map that we tend to see in many of the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay books. Jumping on in, we got a lot of illustrators, once again, quite a few of them there as well. So the book's going to start off with a bit of a gazetteer, talking about the grand provinces. And each of these is going to just give you kind of a bit of a breakdown. It's going to show you their sigil or their flag, talking about the land, the people. So they'll give you a significant place as well. Just bite-sized chunks of information. So one thing also to keep in mind, this is the situation in the Empire as far as just at the beginning of the Enemy Within campaign. So is the Empire in the year 2512. All right, just jumping on through here. So we've got Middenheim, Middenland, Nuln, Ostland, Steerland. I think we had Reichland, which there's already a Reichland book. And if you have the excellent Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay starter set, there is a book there that talks all about Übersreich as well. So just talking about some of the various different provinces as well. Just enough to kind of give you some flavor and give you an idea. But I have to point out that not a ton of detail like you would see in a lot of gazetteer releases. So the main gist of the book here, though, is talking about the three non-human races, the three main non-human races, starting off with the halflings. So we talk about the various different clans and what sets each of the clans apart. We're going to get some NPCs for you to utilize as well of various different types. So right here, this is a grave robber. This is a noble, a halfling noble. We get a guide to their homeland, their home region. We get a bit of a timeline as well. So you're getting a lot of info about the halflings, how they interact in the empire itself, talking about tourist trade. We also get some adventure hooks throughout. That's what these little boxes are, giving you some ideas for various different adventures, featuring the halflings, for an example. Here we'll also have that with the elves as well as the dwarves. We get a map of Mootland. So as you can see, we get a lot of info that is extremely useful if you utilize halflings, elves, and dwarves a lot in your Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. I know of some people who do not. And the reality is many of the adventures aren't real heavy with the other non-human races as well. So then we get into the dwarves and the part they play within the empire as builders, mainly. So going through, once again, we talk about some of their clans, although not as much detail on the clans as we got with the halfling section. We do get into more information about their settlements, how they live. We get more NPCs for you to utilize as well. There's some short adventure hooks also. Get a guide to their homeland, as well as a timeline. So there's plenty of info about the dwarves as well. Once again, we had some more adventure hooks throughout. And then we get into the elves, which, as far as the three races go, there's less page space devoted to them than the other two. But still, quite a bit of good information as well. And NPCs, adventure hooks, and so forth. We also get 4 new careers for the 3 different races. So we get the Ghost Strider, which is for elves. We get the Field Warden, which is for halflings. We get the Carrick Ranger, which is for dwarves. And we get the Badger Rider, which is for halflings as well. So we get a breakdown of these new careers. Then we're going to have some new weapons for the various different races as well. So we get another appendix showing us some new weapons for the elves, the halflings, and the dwarves. And we get a breakdown of what they are as well. And that, in essence, is all you're going to find in Archives of the Empire, Volume 1 from Cubicle 7 Entertainment. Let's swing on over to the other camera. I'm going to talk about what I like and who I think this book is for, and give this a review score as well. So I like the book. I thought it's pretty interesting. I got to be honest, the Gazetteer, I feel that there's not a ton of information about the different provinces. I mean, there's enough to be like, Oh, okay. Well, I see how that's a little bit different than that. Like, how is Nuln different than the Reichland? Okay, I got it. Gives us a population and gives us a place of interest in that region as well. But not enough where a game master is really going to be able to utilize that in adventures. And one of the things also that I want to point out is that so far with the pre-published adventures, especially with the Enemy Within campaign, those regions are already kind of covered in other places, including in the Enemy Within companions. So as far as the gazetteer, it's fine, but I don't think it's super useful. What I think is very useful is all the information about each of the races, the halflings, the dwarves, as well as the elves, plus new careers. The new careers are pretty cool as well. Thing is, if you don't utilize the non-human races very much in your games of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, you may not find this information all that useful for you. That is a possibility, especially if you don't have player characters who play non-humans. So, and like I said, I know there are some game masters out there with WFRP who do not utilize a lot of non-human player characters. They tend to have their player characters be human. And of course, then you've got the monsters and beastmen and all the other things just as adversaries and NPCs. All in all, it's a good book. I don't think it's a great book. And I got to be honest, I don't know how useful it's going to be for people who are already running the pre-published adventures from Cubicle 7. So on a scale of 0 to 10, I give Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay Archives of the Empire Volume 1 a 7 out of 10. I do recommend it. I think it's a pretty good book. I think price-wise, it's a little pricey. $34.99 MSRP for a 94-page hardcover. You might consider going with the PDF for $19.99 instead. Of course, if you're a completist and you've got an entire collection of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay books, you'll probably end up going with a hardcover as well. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when I upload videos such as this review, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, airs right here on YouTube, as I bring you the latest in tabletop gaming news and a first look on each episode at a tabletop game. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thank you so much for watching. And until I see you next time, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your own gang. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're kicking it, how about subscribing to the Gaming Gang channel? Or seeing the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch? Or finding out what YouTube recommends you check out here at my channel? And of course, don't forget, get your geek on at thegaminggang.com.